Good evening. It's August the 14th, 6 o'clock, 2018. This is the regular meeting of the Addison Township Planning Commission. We will start with a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would ask for roll call.
Okay. Chair Lawrence Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Jean Lewert.
Here.
Secretary Benz here. Linda Garrett.
Present.
Jean Malaya.
Present.
Chuck Sargent.
Here.
Joe Schneer.
Here. All present are accounted for, thank you. Next item is announcements and correspondence. I don't have any announcements. Does anyone on the board have any? Hearing no announcements, I will recognize any correspondence that has been given to this board of the township that should be a matter of record. So noted. Thank you. Next item is approval of the agenda. I so move. Approve as presented.
Support.
I have motion and support that we proceed as printed. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We will proceed. The order of business number 1 is the approval of the May 8th, 2018 minutes of this board.
I would make a motion to approve the May 8th Planning Commission minutes as presented.
I'd second that.
I motion to second that the minutes be made a record of, be record as printed. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We will proceed with item number 2. Item number 2. I'll back up. First off, I would like Mr. Bone and Mr. Davis to have the opportunity to tell us what has been going on, why we're here, and some of the proceedings that should happen this evening. Either gentleman may start. Your choice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning Commission has received an application for a special land use permit for placement of a cellular communication tower, parcel 0505300-011, 5020 Hosner Road. A public hearing was held 1 year ago in August. Certain legal proceedings have occurred prior to this evening's meeting. We are now prepared to proceed with deliberation on whether or not to grant a special use permit as applied for. In order that we might have something to discuss, I have prepared a resolution for your consideration. The resolution merely indicates whether or not the applicant has met the standards in the zoning ordinance for review. I will read that for the benefit of the public as well.
Thank you.
And when I finish reading, I'll give a copy to the recording secretary. The Addison Township Planning Commission resolution for the special land use permit for the Verizon wireless communications facility, including a tower at 5020 Hosner Road for parcel 0505300-011. Whereas the subject application was received and processed according to the procedures of the Addison Township Planning Commission, whereas a public hearing on August 8, 2017 has been publicly posted and held, whereas the following findings are the result of a review of the public record, including the application of the standards of consideration of the special land use permit in Article 30 of the Addison Township zoning ordinance, whereas the relevant criteria for approval of the special land use permits as contained in Section 30.06 have been or have not been met to the satisfaction of the Planning Commission, whereas the applicant has been given an opportunity to respond to the foregoing findings. Now therefore be it resolved that as the Township Planning Commission does hereby approve, deny, or approve of conditions the subject special land use based upon a review of the public record and foregoing findings. Be it furthermore resolved that the recommendation, if it is for approval, shall be subject to the following conditions, and if the recommendation is for approval, we can discuss those conditions. With that having been said, I defer a moment to our legal counsel. Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion to adopt the resolution as either have been met or have not been met, and then we'll have something to discuss. Mr. Davis?
Planning Commission, Robert Davison, thank you for allowing me to be here this evening. It's good to see some familiar faces on our local Planning Commission. I wanted to draw your attention to one procedural matter and then a general comment. Under the zoning laws, the Planning Commission has got a certain composition by law. And one of the members of your Planning Commission by law is to have what's known as an ex officio member from the board. And Linda Garrick is your representative on the Planning Commission in that capacity from the Township Board. Tonight there are two matters that are before the Planning Commission. One is the approval or the denial of special land use approval or with conditions. That matter stops here. In other words, that matter never gets reviewed by the board. You're the final determination on the special use portion of tonight's meeting. Therefore, because Linda Garrick will not vote on that matter at the board level, it's my opinion that Linda Garrick will this evening deliberate with you and vote with you on the issue of the special use permit. However, if in fact we make it to a review of the site plan, your review of the site plan at this level produces a recommendation to the Township Board wherein Linda Garrick will in fact vote at the Township Board level on the site plan. And therefore, out of caution and to have no perceived conflict and no appearance of any conflict, I'm asking that Linda Garrick be excused from voting this evening on the site plan portion of the agenda, because she will in fact be voting on that issue at the board level. That's out of an abundance of caution. I think it's debatable under the law, but I think that's the way we will proceed. So the matter before you involving special use application has been before the ZBA on a variance with respect to the size of the lot. The variance was held by public hearing. The variance was granted. The variance was appealed by certain citizens and by Kingsbury School. The citizens were dismissed because they had no standing, and ultimately the court heard the arguments and remanded the matter back to the ZBA for a second hearing to make sure that the issue of fall zone was properly addressed by the ZBA. The fall zone was the question of whether or not there was enough room in case the tower fell, but 4 engineering firms presented evidence that it's a self-buckling tower. The ZBA made findings, the court agreed and dismissed the appeal. There was a lawsuit filed by Kingsbury School in the federal court, which went to one hearing and was dismissed. Kingsbury School certainly has a right of appeal and may exercise that right of appeal with respect to the findings of the circuit court. There is no order, no stay, or no prohibition against you continuing your job this evening. In fact, you're duty-bound to continue with your job in processing the normal channels for this project. Any questions?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Did you all miss me over the years, or?
Of course.
Okay.
Unanimous.
I will read item number 2 on the agenda. It's a request of Verizon, who is the applicant, for a special use permit application for placement of a cellular communication tower on parcel 0505-300-011. Property owners, Addison Township. The project is at 5020 Hosner Road, zoned public institutional P1. The property is located near the northeast corner of Hosner Road and Oakwood Roads. That is the official publication. We'll proceed from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would ask that you each correct your draft resolution. Be it further resolved, the last paragraph has the word recommendation. That should be decision.
What, I didn't hear you.
The word recommendation should be decision. In the be it further resolved case. Right.
Okay, thank you.
With that having been said, as promised, a copy. So what we seek is a motion to adopt a resolution indicating that the applicant either does or does not meet the standards of the zoning ordinance in section 3.06. Once the motion is made, if adopted, then we'd have something to discuss.
How is this supposed to be worded?
I move we adopt the resolution indicating that the applicant either does or does not, your choice, meet the standards of 3006.
Just say what he said. I move that we adopt the resolution or not, as it's written.
Your motion is to adopt the resolution that the applicant does meet?
And does or does not.
Well, we need to choose one or the other, so.
What did you say? Does, then.
Okay, you're indicating does. Then we can discuss it, and that may or may not result in a vote depending upon the discussion.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
Now we have something to discuss. It's on the floor, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. That's fine. Next thing is discussion, right?
Discussion.
Okay. Very good. That being said, we will proceed with discussion. Does anyone want to be first?
Is there a vote on the motion?
Not until we discuss.
After we discuss it. The motion says that we will
I understand.
approve the application. Is that right?
So we're saying that the special land use conditions have been met?
The resolution is asserting that, yes.
Okay.
And now we're discussing whether or not that is indeed the case.
I believe that they have been met.
I agree also with that.
We're merely looking for a consensus.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
I'm sensing a consensus thus far, with 6 indicating they believe the sections of, the conditions of 30.06, the standards have been met by the applicant.
That would be affirmative.
Still have an opportunity for any further discussion?
Hearing no signs of further discussion, I will call for a roll call vote.
And before the roll call vote, the resolution asserts that the applicant will be given an opportunity to respond to the findings that they have met the standards. Would the applicant care to respond to the resolution?
We appreciate the resolution. We look forward to voting. Thank you.
A vote by roll call is now in order.
Chair Lawrence Smith,
Yes?
Vice Chair Gene Lewert,
Yes.
Secretary Benz, yes. Linda Garrick,
Yes.
Jane Malaya,
Yes.
Chuck Sargent,
Yes.
and Joe Schneer.
Yes. The motion carries.
With that having been said and decided, the next item on the agenda is to review the site plan that applies to this application. Before proceeding, we do have comment from our legal counsel.
Did you say Mr. Davis is going to comment?
The comment was, were there any conditions that you wish to attach to that approval? We heard none.
That's fair. Okay.
Want to make sure that there were none.
Okay, then I should read officially item number 3 on the agenda.
Please do.
Request of,
Hang on a second, I think Mr. Sargent has a look that might indicate he has a question.
There's a question about boundaries. They go to the site plan? Okay.
Yeah, that would go to the site plan.
Yes, thank you.
okay? Item number 3, request of Verizon, who's the applicant, for a site plan application for placement of a cellular communication tower on parcel 0505300011. Property owners Addison Township. Property is at 5020 Hosner Road. Zone public institutional, P1. Is special use approval site plan applicant review.
Mr. Chair?
Sir?
As much as this will break my heart, I'm going to ask that Linda Garrett now be gone.
I have to leave?
Yeah, I think it's...
I have a hard time hearing you just a little bit.
Really?
Just a little bit.
Okay, I'm just going to ask Linda Garrett to now excuse, because on the site plan, I indicated earlier, I believe that she should not participate or vote on that issue. Bye, Linda.
Bye.
Don't take it personally. Proceed. What's the procedure, Mr. Bowman?
Once again, we have a resolution for you that I'd like to introduce. It's in draft form. It refers to the conditions, or I should say the standards by which site plans are reviewed. That is section 2905 of the zoning ordinance. The question before you is, does the site plan meet the standards? And in this case, you're merely recommending to the Township Board approval with conditions, or denial of the site plan. And the Township Board will have the final authority on the matter. The resolution reads in brief, Addison Township Planning Commission resolution, site plan for Verizon Cellular Communication Tower, 5020 Hosner Road. Site plan submittal was most recently July 20, 2018. Job number from the Midwestern Consulting Company, 940446188A. Whereas the subject site plan application was received and processed according to the procedures of the Addison Township Planning Commission, whereas public meetings on August 8, 2017 and August 14, 2018 have been publicly posted and held, whereas the following findings were the result of a review of the public record, including the application and the standards for consideration of the site plan, as contained in Article 29 of the Addison Township zoning ordinance, whereas the applicable, and there's a typo with that word, criteria for approval of site plans is contained in Section 2905 of the Addison Township zoning ordinance have been or have not been met to the satisfaction of the Planning Commission. Whereas the applicant has been given an opportunity to respond to the foregoing findings, now therefore be it resolved that the Addison Township Planning Commission does hereby recommend approval or denial of the site plan based upon a review of the public record and the foregoing findings. Be it furthermore resolved that the recommendation, if recommended for approval, shall be subject to the following conditions, 2 of which are indicated here so far. 1, that the agency managing the site shall develop an emergency response plan for dealing with rescue situations at the location. Such plan shall receive approval of Addison Township Fire Department prior to Township Board approval of the site plan. Number 2, designation and posting of an access drive to the site as fire lane no parking in a manner acceptable to the Addison Township Fire Department. We have room for at least 2 more conditions, but don't be limited by that, as many conditions as you wish. That is the resolution. As was done earlier, we ask for a motion to approve the site plan or deny the site plan. If approval, we'll get to conditions later. That way we have something on the floor to discuss. So a motion is in order that the site plan either does meet or does not meet required standards.
I'll let somebody else word it this
I'll make the motion then. The applicable criteria for the approval of site plan contained in section 2905 Addison Township zoning have been met to the satisfaction of the planning commission.
I'll second that.
I motion in second, which allows us to proceed with discussion. Mr. Bowman, you obviously reviewed the documents presented, and your decision is?
Well, of course, it's your decision. My
No, I mean your comment,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes, I didn't want anyone to think.
Not your decision, your official comment.
Thank you. Observations have been forwarded to the applicant, have been incorporated into reviews of the site plan. I don't duplicate those of the township engineer, which speak for itself. The two conditions that I've added in the resolution were generated from a similar experience with the cell tower here in the township. Also like to see some kind of financial surety so that the tower will be removed if it's ever abandoned or becomes obsolete. So that would be a third condition I would like the Planning Commission to consider.
Mr. Bowman, if I may. Chair,
Sir.
if I may. Mr. Bowman, that's in form of surety bond or?
The technique, we defer to the applicant as long as it's acceptable to the Township Legal Counsel. A variety of ways they could achieve that. We don't want to be prescriptive.
Is that the only other recommendation you?
That is the only observation not covered by the Township Engineer's report.
So item 1 is printed, item 2 is printed, and item 3 will be some type of bonding that's approved by the Township Council, is that correct?
That's correct. We generally condition these also on adequately addressing any concerns expressed by the Township Engineer, one of which was mentioned a moment ago by Commissioner Sargent.
Does Mr. Sargent need to be mentioned in this as item number 4?
Well, the meeting, the conditions of, the observations of the engineer may cover that, but I would defer to Commissioner Sargent as to whether that's an adequate means of responding to the concern.
Would you like to add item number 4, Mr. Sargent?
Well, item number 4,
Well, item 4 is open, I'm asking.
I
if you
know,
would like to
it is open.
You.
I direct attention of the commission to the site plan revision number 3, dated 8/5/18, which precedes the communication from the civil engineers, specifically dated 8/7/18. Page 5 of that communication. It is suggested that clarification must be provided by the township and the applicant regarding the boundary limits of the parcel as noted. And the question I have is that once the boundaries are confirmed, what impact does that have to the site plan dated August 5? That's the question. Because we're looking at a site plan with no validated boundaries at
Well,
this point.
recorded boundary.
Correct. It's not recorded. So therefore, the site plan has a representation. Personally, I walked the site today. I observed no issue with the site itself. but continuing the site plan, that particular drawing dated 8/5 of 18 identifies a monopole cell tower at a height of 195 feet. Specifications reference a 197-foot monopole, and the assumption is that those certifications by design are applicable to the 195-foot pole. So I don't know if the pole design, it's not on the site plan, if it is a slip joint. Theoretically, the fail point, as I interpret the drawings, is approximately 105 feet. Well, is it a self-imploding? Does it telescope within? Or is that a break point once the weather conditions match the design criteria, and in the event of a failure at approximately 105 feet, that leaves a 90-foot fall into the site plan, which quantifies the fall zone at 90 feet. The overall height of the monopole is 190 feet. Excuse me, 195 feet. Also proposed is a 4-foot lightning rod to be attached to the top, which actually extends the overall height to 199 feet, which is 12 inches less than the maximum 200 feet allowed in the township overall height by ordinance. So in the event it fractures and falls, we now have a fall zone of 94 feet, not 90, according to the drawing. So the question I have, what impact does that have? What is the lightning rod? Is it 3 inches in diameter? Does it taper? So if we take 100 or 90, be 90, 105, it would be 99 feet. So that's my question, is the fall zone.
I think I understood that, and I think there's a response. I kind of anticipated the boundary question, but I think we can handle the fall zone, but the applicant
Okay.
can provide some light on that.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good question.
It is proposed, the lightning rod's proposed, but the drawing, as I perceive it, is inaccurate overall height.
Would the chairman like the applicant to respond to that?
That would be my next comment. Would you please?
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
My name is Jonathan Crane. I'm here on behalf of Verizon Wireless. I'm an attorney. I've been working with Mr. Davis and into the school's attorney here. The three of us have been working on this project for now close to a year. There's a couple of comments I would like to make about your proposed resolution. Removal bond, no problem, do it all the time. And Mr. Davis has seen them before, and we'll give him another one. Concerns of PEA, we concur with 100%. They will be resolved. They're very minor. The boundary issues, we're dealing with a 100-year-old, 100-something-year-old cemetery.
1845, it was established.
And 170 years. As well as some old surveys and so on and so forth. We're working with the title company, and we will resolve it. If anything, it looks like the property's going to grow in size. As far as the 195-foot monopole, 197-foot fall zone, 4-foot antenna, 3-foot antenna, and so on and so forth. The monopole itself will be 195 feet. It's a 195-foot structure. The buckling, it's a slip joint. It slips over itself and actually settles down, and it buckles. It's designed to buckle in a non-slip joint location between slip joints of the pole. If it buckles, if there's a failure, and there has not been one failure that has hit the ground, but the monopole is 195 feet, the antennas that are mounted, if you look at a monopole, stick up above it a couple of feet, so that's 2 feet more, that's the 197, and above that is a approximately 2-inch diameter lightning rod. Just a piece of chassis, and that's what goes to all the grounding. That takes it up to the 199 feet.
Can you just speak up just a little?
Okay.
That's all right.
The lightning rod takes it up to the 199 feet. It's 2 inches in diameter, and we have not had one incident. The antenna will buckle, that relieves the stress. It does not, theoretically it goes like this, but the only one I've ever seen, there was at a fire, and it buckled at about a 45-degree angle. There has not been one that has touched the ground in a failure.
But that failure was due to heat.
That was a failure due to heat. Yes, sir.
The slip joints,
Yes, sir.
are they circumferential welds, bolted, or bowed?
They are not bolted. And they're not welded. There's a pipe, and then the top goes over and slips right over. Kind of like one of those Chinese finger puzzles. And it just slips down, tightens up, and they put the next unit on. It's kind of interesting to watch them put them together because they stack them. They build the first one, it's flanged to the caisson. They stack the next unit, they stack the next unit, they stack the next unit, and it's not unusual for it to go. I've actually seen that happen, but that's when they settle down, and in fact, they're very difficult to take apart. When we take one out of service, we traditionally drop it down in one piece and then cut it because the joints are that tight. So basically, where there's a joint, there's a double thickness in that. And it extends for about 5 feet.
That's what I was gonna ask, how,
With double thickness for 5.5 feet, it's
Okay.
over the other section. It's not bolted, there are no bolts going through it holding it, there's no flanges holding it, so on and so forth. Thank you. I hope I've answered your question.
Thank you, Mr. Crane. Yes, thank you very much.
Mr. Sargent raised a good question that the circuit court judge raised the same question at the ZBA hearings in court and remanded the matter back to the ZBA to hold an isolated hearing on the fall zone only.
Okay.
And I think 4 engineers opined during that process, including Kingsbury was allowed to have rebuttal during that process. And then it all went back to the judge, and the judge was convinced on the same explanation that the fall zone was a safe fall zone.
Okay. I'm satisfied. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Sargent. Further comments from the board?
Thank you, John.
A couple questions, John.
Please do.
On the engineer's report, on page 2, the last paragraph, there's some controversy about the school is on some of the township property. Am I reading that correctly?
Pardon?
That the school, it says the school is on part of the township property, is that correct?
That's right, yes, it's absolutely correct.
Okay. And then, well, at the end, it says that it has an impact on the lease of the parcel. Well, is that going to be corrected, or is that being corrected, or?
As I understand it, the school leases, not our parcel is owned by the township, but the school leases some property from the township. Maybe Mr. Davis could
That would be correct.
answer that. It's a very, and it is not impacting our parcel. The parcel is before you for site plan approval.
I guess my second question is, we're talking about the buckling. Does the buckling only happen in one direction? I mean, if this pole, does it only buckle to the west?
No, we have buckled away, direct opposite the direction of the load.
Okay, so I mean, it could buckle to the east, or the north, or the south?
North, south.
Okay. It says the soil report has not been submitted.
That is correct. We ordered the soil borings. We're waiting to get site plan approval because if if the tower were to be relocated or moved, we would have to change the boring locations, and they are expensive. Prior to getting a building permit, after we have full site plan approval, we will do the soil borings, the tower designs, the final tower designs, the caisson design, and so on. That work will be submitted at the time of building permit, and will again reviewed by our engineers. There is one minor issue on item 1 for the resolution, and that was the Addison Township Fire Department plan. Prior to site plan approval, I would like to ask if it would be possible if we consider prior to approval of a building permit. That's item number 1. That way we can get our site plan approval finalized. Quite often the fire marshal will go back to want a different radius on the driveway approaches. You might want different strength in the driveway approach into the site so it'll support a truck, a loaded truck with water, et cetera, et cetera. And we will work with an emergency plan. We'll also make your fire department, if they haven't already, aware of the technical rescue training sessions that are run throughout southeast Michigan on these structures. I imagine they've already been to them, but we'll remind them again. There's technical rescue specialists for getting people off of the tower and so on and so forth. But I'd like, if possible, to have that prior to getting the building permit, rather than prior to getting site plan approval. So we get our site plan approval and do our final engineering and get our building permits. But thank you.
So according to you, if there could be a possibility you have to do soil borings in another area?
If the tower moves, absolutely. If the tower does not move, we'll do a soil boring right where the tower is specified in the approved site plan. And we'll sign our caisson accordingly.
Just for my own knowledge, what's the difference between a wetland and a wet area?
Wetland and a wet area is covered with water sometimes. Wetland is mushy and muck type situation. But a wet area has standing water in it.
Gene, a wetland is a legal designation for a combination of moisture and hydric soils that makes it a regulated area under certain state laws and certain federal laws.
Okay.
Hey, G?
No, not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Also, you have on here that you're gonna put 5 foot tall, you have to excuse me, but I don't know how to pronounce that word there. The arborvitae?
Deer food.
Yes. Absolutely. Is that a standard? That, because the arborvitaes that I remember seeing here, I don't think that we should allow that, first of all. I mean, we asked for different, I think we asked for different plantings at the park, you know, and I'd like you to reconsider maybe doing something different than these 5 foot arborvitaes here.
What we did at Watershed Park?
Yes.
It's been a few years, but I thought it was arborvitae. Maybe that was pine. I don't know.
Is that pines?
The pine, right, the pine. I have no problem with it.
And then also it says you're going to have placing of fill materials. Where is the fill materials coming from? In the proposed grading?
If you look at the grading plan, we're building a wall around two sides of it. And we're going to force a balance. We don't anticipate bringing much fill into this.
Well, I thought it said on the plan here that it was about 8, the wall was like 8 foot.
At one point, I believe is it 8? I thought it was 7, but it might be 8 feet on the westerly side.
Yeah.
That's right. And then we're cutting and forcing a balance on the wall on the other side.
Okay. But you're not hauling any fill into the site?
We're not anticipating hauling in. We will be hauling in some crushed concrete for the driveway and for inside on the top, but we're not anticipating big fill project.
And I guess my last question would be, is there any chance that maybe Verizon could put maybe a step forward and work something out with the school to help them in maybe improve their playground site or move their playground site someplace, you know, to where there isn't this much of a concern about the fall zone?
The first person to suggest that, quite frankly. All the discussions with them, all the screaming and hollering, all their attorney coming into court and telling us this, that, and the other thing. They're the first person to discuss that. We're always open to discussions. Always.
I think it would be a good gesture if you're going to be their new neighbor, because actually, I heard a lot of comment about the township getting a lot of benefit out of this. To the best of my knowledge, Kingsbury School is a part of the township.
They certainly are.
And I think I'd like to see them get a little benefit out of this proposal here.
Here, here.
That's in my...
I appreciate
Good
it.
idea.
And I will reach out on that issue tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
I will make a note to reach out on that issue.
Very good, Gene. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir,
as the author of the resolution and the author of the observation regarding approval at the site plan level, I do concur that it is adequate to have that done prior to the building permit. If there is consensus on that, the maker of the motion would need to agree, and the supporter of the motion, and would need to vote on altering the resolution to change the site plan requirement to be a building permit prior to building permit.
so you would like the board to voice consent first?
If there's a consensus, I'll just accept a motion to alter the resolution.
So you would like a motion to alter the resolution?
The phrase site plan to read building permit.
Would we do that before we vote on the motion we have on the floor now?
Yes, so that you have a
So we
single
can hold the
motion.
motion that's on the floor and have a new motion?
That's an amendment to the motion.
Would someone like to propose that
So
amendment?
moved. Whatever language.
Motion?
That's as good as mine.
Motion and a
Second.
second. Motion and second that we do what Mr. Bowman just said. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You got it, Mr. Bowman? We'll proceed.
Now, I think we're down to the other conditions. We have agreement from the applicant regarding financial assurity for removal. We have agreement, I believe, from the applicant on meeting conditions of the engineer's letter. And we have a cordial comments from Township Legal Counsel and the applicant's representative regarding the considerations for Kingsbury, but those were not a part of the conditions of the resolution as I understand it. Is that a fair characterization, Gene?
That's the way I see it.
And the clarification of boundaries.
It's my belief that is one of the conditions of the engineer's letter.
And soil erosion permit.
Yep, yep.
And arborvitae attention.
White pine. Or maple's good too.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever deer doesn't eat, right?
Would you like the pine to be specified? or
I
not?
believe what we asked for at the park was 12-foot pines.
I believe you're right.
I'd like to leave it. I know that, I'm not an arborist, but I know they're having problems with some of the diseases. If you just leave it at pine, quite correct. Well, I'd advise to see what we're down.
Acceptable? We then have a revised resolution, unless there's more discussion. A vote would be in order to approve the resolution as amended,
Is there any more discussion, Gordon?
or to deny the resolution.
Well, I'd like everybody to know that we've all given a lot of actual thought to this, and I read all the emails, and I taught for 35 years, so I don't take this lightly. I put myself up by, because I actually almost worked there after I retired, so I was thinking, would I want to work there with that? So I was asking all these questions.
Thank you for your comments. We do have a resolution, a motion in front of us right now, is that correct?
That's correct.
And that motion is to approve or deny, or is it to
A
approve?
recommendation to approve with 4 conditions.
That's what I heard. Approve
I'll make that motion.
and conditions? We have the motion already. It's all in place. We're gonna vote next. And there's no more discussion. We understand that the provisions have been changed and okay, and the motion will stand as printed. Okay?
Recommend approval with conditions.
More discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Okay. Chair Lawrence Smith.
Yes.
Vice Chair Gene Lewert.
Yes.
Secretary Benz, yes. Not Linda. That's what that's up.
Oh, and
Jean Malaya.
Yes.
Chuck Sargent.
Yes.
And Joe Schneer.
yes, motion carries.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on to the meeting. The next item on the meeting is public forum. Anyone in the audience care to speak for the good of the order can be heard now. We just ask that you step to the podium and give us your name and address.
My name is William Carroll, 1960 East Leonard Road, Leonard, 4367. So much to say, but really what I want to do here is I want to remind you guys of the January 13th, 2009. And I noticed the four of you on the end here were present during this board meeting. There was a cell tower that was proposed to go on Drainer. And 5 of the 6 reasons why you denied it are exactly the same reasons that you should be denying this Kingsbury one. I don't understand why you could deny that one and approve this one. You've heard all of our complaints, you know, we don't want this thing here. You're hearing from the residents, there's a lot of us that don't want this. We don't want this. And, you know, I hope you guys do the right thing here. You know, I understand that you obviously want this, but there's more of us that don't want it than want it. So please take that into consideration and go back to January 13, 2009 and look at why you guys denied that one. But like I said, the 4 of you were at that one. Same reasons.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Ivan Levinsky. So, yeah, you got
Address?
address 5599 North Hadley Road.
Thank you.
Why I have to follow the rules, you know. Okay, but anyway, I was blown away. I remember when Kara brought this up to me over a year and a half ago. I just thought, well, there's no way. That's just what, well, why should I even show up? There's no way that they're gonna approve that. And here we are. It's approved. Well done. So I have a few questions that I can answer right now, but just the general way I think I'm supposed to do this is from, Robert Davis has told me that all money from the cell tower has to go to Parks and Rec.
So prior cell tower was direct money from.
Oh, prior. So this one, that's no longer true. Okay. You would let me believe that all cell tower money would go to that. But okay, so that answers all the questions there. I still don't understand how you're on any legal ground, or I don't know who is even lacking, but Addison Township and Verizon, there's still more variances that have never got approved, but I guess it doesn't matter. And okay, Verizon's offer to move the playground, but the favorite place for the kids to play is a tree, about 100 feet from the tower. The playground ends about 90 feet from the tower. They're gonna pick this tree up and move it? I mean, these kids don't just play in city structures. It's the whole play yard that is the play yard. That doesn't make any sense. And you wonder, why am I getting mad? Why are people yelling? It's like, you're putting a cell tower 80 feet from my kid's play yard. Come on. Of course I'm mad. You know, if I followed the laws like you guys did do, just kind of willy-nilly, things would be a lot worse, obviously, because I'm following all the laws. You guys are clearly not. And talking about how Kingsbury is going to crop from this, or part of Addison Township, how is that? Is Kingsbury going to be funneled some money from this? Is there anything positive at all that's going to happen to Kingsbury? And then the promise for the playground, is there going to be anything that happens to that? We'll see. You know, time will tell. Is there anybody there? So, I mean, I would think the only solution that would mean anything would be taking and moving the school that's on that ground and move it towards the other ground, the southwest corner. But that's the original school from, I believe, the late 1800s. So that would be really a terrible thing to have to remove that to put a tower up. And we all know that there's plenty of sites, even on Kingsbury's land as the proposed removal of the school. There's a place that Kingsbury is trying to get you guys to cell tower, and you've refused. Yeah, so, obviously. Okay, let's see, I'd like to comment on the lack of parents here. There's not as many. We're diminishing. As I talk to these people, there's more people getting mad, less people coming. They've completely given up on their local government. They don't see the point even coming here. I don't know how many emails you got, but, or if those even count for the meeting. They may not, because I think this is probably the case of all the emails that came in from the previous planning commission about a year ago. It's probably, I'm assuming is the legal standing on that, so I wrote an email, so I'm assuming that that's not even included in the minutes for today. Well, that's about all I have. Oh, I have a couple other comments. I do have one request of Verizon, that after the cell tower is up, that it would be nice if we could get some RF levels of all the frequencies they use at both schools around the playgrounds. I don't know if that's, an unjust answer to the question. If you have an RF meter around where the kids play, and all the frequencies to make sure that the tower is transmitting, and I don't know if there's a test so that they can do that. That'd be a nice thing to actually know that, like, the decibels, whatever measure they use at those points. And as this gentleman mentioned, I'd like to quote Lawrence Smith. My idea of royal character is something different than a plain Jane tower. And now, it's beautiful, it's great, nothing wrong with it. I mean, you guys know what this is, you guys were there. You were physically there, you were the ones saying these things. I don't need to tell you this. You don't care, you want the money, we both know it. So what am I supposed to do? I mean, what are we supposed to do as civilians? I just don't get it. Our own local government is not operating in our best interests. I mean, I don't know, unless maybe Verizon or the employees are just going to spend a ton of money in Addison Township and this area is just going to flourish. I mean, I know that the township's going to get money from this, but what about everybody else? What about the businesses? Are they going to get any money out of this? Is anybody but the township going to get money? And is Verizon going to help when there's loss of tuition at Kingsbury? Kingsbury has spent a lot of money recently. I'm sure you know, because I'm sure they had to get approval from you guys to build a new building. And if they start to dwindle on their tuition because of this, so people have already left because of it. There's many people right on the line, many on the fence, that are considered leaving. I had planned on not leaving, even though it's built, but I don't know. We'll see what happens when the tower's up, how scary it looks. But, I mean, anything there? Is Verizon going to care? Is every student, I believe each student is $7,500 a year, roughly, I don't know exact numbers, and be a little more or less, but whatever. So each student, a single student, $7,500 a year. They lose 4 students. I mean, that's like the entire run of the cell tower. It's just so you guys can get the money. Yeah, I'm very disappointed in Addison Township, but can't say I'm surprised. I see this at every single level. My mom, she's up in a very small town, like smaller town than this. The voting population of 250 registered voters, and she sees a high level of corruption there. So it's not your fault. It's just the human condition. I mean, we're just terrible. So I guess that's it. Thanks for setting that example to my kids.
Thank you. Further comments?
I'd like to make a comment. I used to be the head of the department, the park.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec. And we used to get by on $10,000 a year. And whatever we could scrape up and whatever we could find. That department needs the money. I don't know whether the only place you could come from is this, but it does help those people do the things they want to do.
I'd say that money was just, that tower was on park land. It was the first, I believe in the state,
Yeah.
where a tower built on parkland that money only for the parks. This is not on park land. That's
I
the
understand.
difference.
The way Davis explained, I was confused. I'll take on.
Okay, thank you.
I just wanted to clarify one little.
Yeah, another comment, if I may.
You may.
Chairman. You know, I respect your position, respect your comments. I also have respect for the school, and I would think that there is an emergency plan, that if the sirens go off and the winds are approaching 85 to 115 miles per hour, that potentially could create a tower break, the monopole, that the children would have been removed from any play area that might be within range of that 90 feet. And I'm not being negative, I'm trying to be positive.
I am actually pretty, secure, feel safe with the design, I do.
Yes.
Okay.
You know, I can do it myself, come on, let me talk.
Well, no, I'm not stopping you from talking, I just don't want to debate back and forth, that's all.
Okay. But I'm not as worried about that, but it's everything. This is a community, like the reason you guys declined one in 2009. This is a rustic school out in the woods, and now there's 90 feet? I mean, that is so close. I'd like to see any of you on the balls go in the parking lot and walk 90 feet from that tower you have, and stand there with me, look up and say, yeah, that's cool. I'm cool with it. I'm cool with this guy right here playing there, 90 feet. I'd like to see a single one of you on the balls go in the parking lot, say 90 feet from that tower, look up with me.
I did it today.
Yeah?
Yes.
Walk out with me, I said, walk out there with me, it's by yourself, walk out there and you look at me and say, that's cool.
Yeah.
And you're not a child. It looks a lot different
Sure,
from a child.
of course, yes. My comment is not derogatory, it's intended in a positive way. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you, everyone. Any further comments? Does anyone want to step up?
I just have,
Your name and address?
Karen Lavoie, 922 Lockwood Road, Ortonville, Michigan.
Thank you.
I also have a son who attends the school, and my questions are more for safety issues. I'm sorry, I can't remember your first name. I can't remember your last name.
Crane?
Mr. Crane had mentioned that when they take it down, that they take the whole thing and throw it down, which I don't think you guys I seriously doubt it's going to go into the wetland. So it is going to have to go onto the school property, which means it will be where our, merry-go-round is. If, I don't know, in 30 years or 20 years or whenever the stuff that they're putting out in California makes it out here and they have to have one of these things every 100 feet or so. Can we have another way to take it down? Instead of just like tossing it down? And then my other question on security, safety, is I saw a tree get hit by lightning in my yard. And the tree looked perfectly fine. The next year, all of a sudden, it was just a rogue, out of the blue piece of wind, blew, that thing fell right down on my son's swing set. It was a perfect day. Luckily, when he was at school at the time, he might have been out there playing on it. So how often do we inspect it to make sure that there isn't any kind of grain boundaries or something that was created in this pole when it gets hit by something? So those are just my two safety questions.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shauna Budinski. Do you need to say my address? Address?
Please.
It's 5599 North Hadley Road, Ortonville, Michigan.
Thank you.
462. I can't believe I'm here, I really can't. There's this many adults that have no common sense to say this is ridiculous. I mean, it really is. You act like you're doing your due diligence to consider all the aspects of safety and everything, but to me, it's just crazy talk. I mean, whenever I make a choice for my children, it is without a doubt safe. Not it might happen or it might not happen. Theoretical to me It never happens theoretically. It never happens perfectly. We don't know what can happen at all. I mean, I feel so angry to have my children here, to be witnessing all this, to be talking about scary things. I'm so disappointed. I wish you guys could be there for our Kingsbury event. We just recently had our ice cream social there, and none of you were there to see it, and all the laughter, excuse me, and all the fun that we had there. It would take away so much to see a big monocle right there. You guys are not there to see that today. I really want to be the one to appeal to their humanity, because it seems like it's all numbers to everyone. And I'm a mom of 2 kids that go to this school. How could you not care more? My husband said that other parents are losing steam with this hate. It's just going through. Nobody cares. I'm gonna keep arguing against it because they have to be there. I wish more people could be here. I also just feel like their own sense is saying people are going to make the right decision here. And I'm just not sure that's the case. I don't. It just keeps going through and keeps going through. We're going back and forth between meetings, and now it's in court. And how can that many people look at this and say, I accept this? How can you accept it for other children, other parents that want to keep their kids safe? Would you guys really want to be there at this playground? The playground out front. I would never take my children there. That sound tower is so ridiculous. It looms over that playground. And I just would choose not to go there. I feel like you guys are not addressing a lot of the concerns that we have. They're just getting pushed under the rug. You don't have all the variances. There are other locations that could be possibilities. I mean, this seems like the worst possible place to put it. It really does. So all I really want to say is, please don't ruin such a joyous place for us.
They already did, it's done, it's already voted. Even if they wanted to change it, it's too late.
Do not ruin the natural beauty that is there. It means a lot to us. We love our school and we want it to do well, and Addison Township should also care very much for such a gem in their community. Do not place a cell tower in this location. It is awful planning on your part. Please deny this permit. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? Going once, twice. Public forum is over. Thank you very much for your comments, folks. Next item on the agenda is commissioner reports. The chair has nothing to record at this time, just everything that you probably all know. Mr. Bowman, you care to comment?
Interested in a consensus. We have a potential situation in the township where someone would like to establish a short-term care facility for dogs, temporary housing for dogs. It's my belief that meets the definition of kennel, which includes temporary housing for dogs. But I don't want to rely upon my opinion. I'm interested in knowing if you also believe that temporary housing, daycare kind of arrangement for dogs fits within the definition of temporary housing for dogs as we define in kennel.
By daycare, do you mean that people will bring their dog for a day at a time?
Doggy day.
Saturday?
Temporary care.
Okay.
We would not limit the duration.
Because say some of them go over a few days to...
Yeah.
Yeah, your week vacation.
Please. You know, I just had the opportunity to actually tour one of these facilities and look at plans as an investment opportunity, and it's rather unique. It is no different than a daycare facility for children. In fact, in some cases, I think it's even more intricate than a daycare facility for children. The one I actually toured, I would say the definition would be definitely kennel, because the opportunity does exist for overnight stay at the one I did actually tour, up to weekly stays. This included meals, playtime, supervised playtime, absolutely supervised playtime by name of the animal, be it a cat, dog, or whatever, walking privileges, excrement privileges, if you will, doggy-do privileges. It was amazing. It really was. But I see it as an up-and-coming type of facility. People take a lot of time and love and care of their pets, and they want to go to work, they want to drop them off at 9, pick them back up at 5, and have them fed and cared for, groomed. So, anyway, the reason for going on and on about this is that in this facility that I visited, they also, along with boarding, did grooming, shots, and all the other things. So, yes, I would say kennel, if not enhanced kennel, heading almost toward veterinary services, so.
Any outdoor runs?
There was no veterinarian on site, but they were available for shots on a weekly
Then you get the
basis.
barcode.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Sir?
I think the township code defines a kennel of 5 dogs or more. Correct? Yes.
It's either 4 or 5.
Yes. I know people, well, it's a different issue. They have 5 dogs, but they have families, so 2 are in the names of one family and 3 are in the names of the other family who live side by side, and the 5 dogs are all housed in the same facility, the same house, but for licensing purposes. But that's a different thought. You're seeking consensus.
Comments. I'll determine whether consensus exists based upon your comments.
You can't include me in that consensus for. And I'm a dog lover.
If there's outdoor runs, I know some of the kennels, the neighbors get barking all the time, so that's why I was wondering about that.
That would have been my comment, that dogs bark, children don't.
We do accommodate that use, but it's in the agricultural zone rather than commercial zone.
Okay.
There exists, forget the road, it's a road the Elks Club's on. Quite a few dogs back in that area, and it is 9/10 of 1 mile from my residence, and I can hear those dogs barking, especially at night.
I hear them from the lake all the way over to me.
I think if it's for hire, it requires regulations.
Now, the one facility I did tour, there was no outdoor runs.
That was my point.
They were all indoor. Similar to the one in Oxford, Metamora Canine. Police Department, yeah. That new facility, I do believe, is all interior.
So if it truly was doggy daycare and there were no runs and all you were allowed to do is drop off your dog in the morning and pick it up at night, you long ago defined kennel and you long ago placed kennel in your zoning ordinance. And I think you're on to this. This is something new.
It is new.
The question I think that Rand is trying to get to is this a kennel or is it something new?
It's a business, it's for hire.
Oh, no, we know it's going to be regulated. It's a matter of where.
As far as placement within the zoning.
Correct.
Well, I can only refer back to ones I've actually toured. And I do believe that the parking was suppressed by the interior design of the building without the exterior runs. And they did have a closing time. I believe their hours were 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. But they did have the ability to house overnight in case of an emergency or something like that. Very limited, but there was that ability. But I did not see any exterior type runs. Exterior play areas, exterior this, exterior that, but not actual, the traditional cage run where you place the dog to park all day.
I know when I go on vacation, the housing of the dogs is more expensive than my hotel.
Absolutely.
It's more expensive
Get the
than my
dogs to
horses.
call Expedia.
You're talking about a 5-day, traditional 5-day, 8-hour per day stay.
$40 a dog.
Yes, per day.
How much a day?
Anywhere from 40 to 60, what I saw. So, that's expensive.
Yeah.
By my standards, but.
My understanding is, the question on the table or for discussion is it a kennel?
It's kind of what Randall does.
Yes, I think it is.
The form,
Yes.
unique or new form. Oh, okay, thank you. Any other comments? We have 3 people self-identifying as dog lovers. Any cat lovers?
I almost got one yesterday, but I just would
I
like
love all
outdoor
of them,
run.
just keep at your house.
All right. Well, thank you for your comments. If there are other comments, I don't want to shut it off, but I don't want to overstay my welcome either.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Yeah.
Reports are done. Let's have the famous
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second it.
motion second to adjourn. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.